Welcome to the Random and Wonderful podcast. I'm your host, Grace Simmons, your favorite solo travel mindset coach. Each episode, we explore ways to uplift you on your journey, to add joy, confidence, and independence into your life. This is our fourth episode of the Self-Advocacy interview series, and today, our guest is Elona Washington, a marketing strategist who is also an advocate against child abuse and human trafficking. I do want to caution you listeners, this episode will mention trauma associated with the results of sexual assault, attempted suicide, and human trafficking. While we do not go into specifics, some details may be disturbing or triggering for some listeners. Please engage in self-care and use your best judgment while listening to this episode. All right, and welcome to the Random and Wonderful podcast. And I'm going to let our guest introduce herself. Please announce who you are.
Hi, my name is Elona Washington. I currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee. I am originally from the DMV area, Washington, D.C. I am a marketing strategist. I have my own boutique. It's called C7 Marketing. And my social cause is child abuse awareness and trafficking.
Thank you for that, Elona, and welcome again.
Thank you.
We're going to start with I have a silly question just to kind of ease us in. What was a fun childhood career? Like when you were a child, what career were you just like, I know this is what I'm going to do?
Be an author.
Ooh.
Nothing fun. I mean, I thought English was fun. So like diagrammatic sentences was the thing for me. I would do it now.
That was your jam.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's awesome. So you also mentioned that you are a marketing strategist. Can you give me like a brief overview of what you do in your role, and like not necessarily of your history, but like how did you get to this point?
Okay. I went to Howard. I majored in Afro-American studies. I wanted to be a professor, but I was a young single mother and I needed a job. Mm-hmm. So my first job out of college was a marketing coordinator, and it was for a small company, and they never had a marketing person before. But because I understood who their target audience was, because I was their target audience once, they pretty much hired me on the spot, and I loved it, and I haven't looked back since. Oh, wow. So I've always worked in the corporate realm until July, when I quit my job with having no job lined up, no prospects lined up. I just couldn't take it no more. And I said, I'm just going to do my own thing. So I have been doing my own thing since July. So now I help small business owners develop marketing plans and strategies to increase their high quality leads and increase their revenue.
Nice.
And I do this by helping them develop campaigns around their product and service. So okay. I determine the best channel for them, because not every business needs to be on social media.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's helpful. For me, especially like being a business owner, there's so many different voices. There's so many different experts. And so it's helpful to have someone who is like legitimately on your side. They're trying to help you and they're able to tailor something to you. So yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So there are two questions I ask, and I can pretty much figure out everything else. I can research everything else. So I ask the owner what they feel comfortable doing. Because some people like, I don't want to do video, or I don't mind doing video. That's fine. And then I ask, what is the mission? What's the one thing you want people to take away when they purchase your product or service? And then once they tell me that, then I'm good.
You can do it.
I can figure everything else out. Mm-hmm.
What if someone comes to you and they have like a lot of ands? I want to do this and I want to do that. And do you all go through a process of like trimming?
Mm-hmm. I keep asking them questions until they drill it down
Okay.
to the one thing. Yeah, because I can be like that too, because I don't market like I should, and I don't do my end of year, like, what do you call it? You're supposed to close your books. I'm busy. I got clients, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So sometimes I go through, dang, I want to do this and this and this. And I'll be like, okay, let's just focus on what we can do this quarter. So I try to break things up into quarters. Speaking of which, I published this.
Nice. Very nice.
So if you want to learn how to create your own annual marketing plan and quarterly strategies, contact Elona Washington.
Excellent. And we will be providing her information in the description so you can find. And by the way, if you're just listening, you just held up an annual, what was it? Annual marketing strategic plan.
Annual strategic marketing plan.
And my vision, man, I'm telling you. Okay. Annual strategic marketing plan. Awesome. That's good. So wait, have you like achieved that childhood dream of being an author?
Yes, I have.
Excellent.
4 times. That's my 4th.
That's wonderful. What were like the first 3 about?
Remember I told you that I was interested and it's going to be over 30 minutes?
Uh-huh.
Here we go. The title of my first book is From Ivy League to Stripper Life.
Mm-hmm.
My second and third book are anthologies about friendship, and the other one is about divorce. So what do you want to ask me now?
Yeah, we should go to this story of Ivy League to stripper, please. We'll just go along the books here.
Okay. So my mom graduated Princeton, stepdad graduated Dartmouth. My father is a preacher, so I'm a PK. But oh yay, welcome. So for 5 years, I worked as an exotic dancer, and no one could understand why, because I wasn't raised, I was raised in a middle class household. We weren't struggling, they weren't perfect, but I wasn't familiar with that side of town. Right. When I ended up there. And I tell people that, well, first I ended up there because after I graduated, I couldn't find a job that could pay my bills. And someone suggested that I dance. Then I was like, ugh, do you know who I am?
Right.
But then I was like, when can we go? So when I walked through the doors, it felt comfortable to me. I felt like I belonged there. And I realized later that it's because I was so used to being treated by men that way.
Right.
So, when you're, I don't know if you ever been, but like you're seen as a commodity or a piece of meat or whatever. So I was just used to that. And in my head, I always thought, well, when I was little, because I used to ask God to save me, don't let it happen again, all that stuff. And he never saved me. So my conclusion was, I must not be God's child. This must be the type of life that I'm supposed to live. So I just settled in there for 5 years.
Wow. And so then going from your Princeton journey to being a strip club, so what switched after those 5 years?
So I was raised by Ivy Leaguers. So it was Princeton-like. We lived in Jersey for a while. So I do remember horseback riding and picking raspberries and making raspberry jam. I mean, it was
funny. Fancy. Okay.
Yeah, it was fancy. And then what was the question? So
you said you were a stripper or exotic dancer for 5 years. And so what happened after those 5? Or why did you stop after 5?
Why did I stop? This guy kept coming into the club, and he would come during happy hour, like after work, and he would complain about his boss. And we would be like, suck it up, because you're not taking your clothes off for $1, right? So everyone knew him. He was cool. And, he wasn't trying to hit on none of us, nothing like that. He would just, a lot of guys do come in just to unwind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before they go home or whatever. So we started talking, and then he started spending more time on my side of the stage or whatever. And he was like, I know you. Here we go. And I was like, no, you don't. And he was like, yeah. He was like, we went to Pullen Middle School together. I was like, no. He pulled out his middle school picture. I don't know why I had his wallet.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, I know you, Richard. And then I married him.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
That's adorable. I know you. Okay, so then the next two were your anthologies. Tell me about these stories of friendship and more.
So the book title is The Friend Who Prays.
Okay.
So it's P-R-A-Y, but then I cross out the A and I put the E over it. Okay. And it's 4 stories of P-R-E-Y friendship. And then it's 4 stories of P-R-A-Y friendship.
Okay. That's a cool balance. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's still a cool balance
It's
to know.
life.
Yeah. All right. And then the third book.
So that is called How Divorce Became My Deliverance. And it's a story of 10 women and how we thought he was the one and how it didn't turn out and how we got out and how we're better for it. The first story begins with a woman who voluntarily checks herself into a mental institution. And I went to high school with her. So, yeah. And that, it was listed on bookriot.com as the top 10 divorce books.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
I love this. See, I'm glad you did. You gave me a good warning. Like, listen, I have a lot going on and I haven't even reached any of the questions that I meant to ask you because this is fantastic. So you recently just did a presentation with the U.S. Congress. Do you mind sharing, like, what was the purpose of that conversation? And then also, what were you hoping to get out of it? And did you get that fulfillment, or did you get what you wanted out of it?
So I am a member of RAIN. I've been a member since 2011, and it stands for Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. So I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. I have been speaking with the RAIN since 2011, and this year they sent out, there's 1,500 of us on the Speakers Bureau, and this year they sent out an email asking who would like to go to Congress and talk about some of the legislation that's up for passing. And I was chosen. 20 of us were chosen out of the 1,500, so I felt special.
Yeah.
So I got to travel back to the DMV. So the purpose of us going was to talk to congressional members, share our story, discuss the impact and the importance of the upcoming legislation and why it meant so much to us. And did we get what we were looking for? I would say for the most part, the average length of taking a bill to law is 6 years. And some of them have, the bills we were discussing were in that 4 to 6 year range. And several of the senators were actually joint. They were, I can't remember the term was, but they were promoting the bill too.
Okay. Like both sides of the aisle kind of thing?
Yep, bipartisan, definitely.
Bipartisan, yeah. Okay, good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for that, honestly. Yeah, I really appreciate that people like you are standing up for that, because it's unfortunate. And then we kind of glaze over what's happened and how it affects us as adults. So I appreciate that very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I feel like the people who are not survivors think that Me Too was a trend or a fad. And I'm like, no, because we still got to deal with the effects of that. Like, my abuse started at 2. I'm 52 and I'm still dealing with it.
What does healing mean to you?
Healing means nothing is set in stone, and it's something that you have to work every single day. And it's something you have to protect. A lot of people say that they started healing through prayer. Like prayer was the reason why they healed or whatever. I can't say that because, I've been praying since I was like 4 or 5 years old, right? So I really can't say that. My healing really began when I started to enforce boundaries in my life. And of course, it's with God, because having boundaries against your family and people that you thought were your friends and, is difficult to go through. But it was boundaries.
Yeah.
But I always say healing isn't linear. So around 2017, 18, 19, I was actually thriving. I honestly thought that I was like healed. I had some little stuff going on here and there, but it was manageable.
Okay.
But then I slipped into 2 years of clinical depression, suicidal depression. And I had to activate my suicide safety plan twice last year. And I feel like I'm getting back up to how I was in 2019, but I'm still not there. So healing definitely isn't linear.
Do you mind if I ask about what was the plan?
Oh, the suicide safety plan.
Suicide safety plan. Yeah. Can you please tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I had to actually turn it into my psychologist and everything.
Okay.
So it's a list of people in your area who could come check on you. So I gave a couple of people the code to my front door. The suicide safety plan is a document that you actually turn into your psychologist. Okay. You should turn into your psychologist. But if you're not in therapy, I suggest you turn it into a trusted friend or family member. So it has a list of everyone's names, emails, phone numbers. You may go so far as an address of who you can reach out to if something goes wrong. And then you share the contact information with everyone on that list. So it was a list of a couple of people in Nashville, because my family isn't in Nashville. My family's in DC. Okay. So it's a couple of people in Nashville. I gave them the code to my house. So if anything ever happened, they could just come in. And they had to activate it a couple of times. And then it's your closest friends and family. So if you feel like you're going through something, you call them and then you talk to them and see if they can talk you down. But if they can't, then they'll call the person closest to me. Okay. To come check on me. Okay.
I'm sorry you went through that. Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm not going to pretend to imagine, but I'm grateful that you are here.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I'm able to share this space with you. So I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And thank you also for sharing about that. I know something for like, when it comes to a little bit more general, like a wellness plan, usually I talk about like creating a plan, just like so you don't slip back into those habits. But knowing that something like that exists, especially for someone who is clinically depressed, is definitely helpful. Frightening, I'm sure, to have to put that together, but I'm glad that there is a process for that.
Yeah. Thanks.
What is something that you were looking for as a child, and have you found it?
I was looking for love. My mother and I didn't get along. She didn't like me. She told me she didn't like me. And she treated me and my sister differently. So my sister has no memory of being treated the way I was being treated. And actually, it was last year, I guess she realized just how messed up I was. Because last year was when I realized that the abuse happened at 2. That's why I was messed up. So when my sister told my mom was like, oh, let me stop. And then she came out to Nashville and we talked and she apologized. It's all about it.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't care about the apology because I was good either way. But knowing that we're good now and we can have a relationship, that's what I wanted.
All right. What is your ideal, like, one of your go-to self-care activities?
Honestly, alone time. I told my son, he comes back from college every single weekend. And last semester, I was like, dude, no, don't come back home. I want to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never lived by myself before because I was pregnant at 19. I was living with my mom, then my girlfriend, and then, I live with my daughter, and then my husband, and then my son, and then my son. And I'm like, I want the house to myself,
Mm-hmm.
all to myself. And it felt glorious. I loved it.
Good. Talking about those boundaries. Good.
Yes.
So I'm curious of what your process is, especially when it comes to making a business decision. Like, how often do you check in with your mental health?
What do you mean by that? Check in with my mental
health? So, like, if you're like, let's say you're already overwhelmed and you're stressed and there's some decision that needs to be made with your business, do you just say, hey, look, I'm just going to carry on and do what I need to do? Or do you say, you know what? I need a break.
So let me tell you the lesson I learned about that. So last year I had several things going on. And then, was it 2021? Let me tell you about 2021. So I had several things going on. I had a demanding job. It was, high paced. That was fine. I was used to it because it was marketing. I had a subordinate that really was a little difficult. And then it's my son's senior year. So, that's money. Then my mom called, and this is when my mom and I didn't have a relationship, and said she wanted to come visit me. And I didn't want her to come visit me. But I said yes. And my therapist was like, why would you say yes? I was like, because she's my mom. I can't tell her no. So in the back of my mind, I was stressed. I didn't want her there. I felt violated and I couldn't shake it. Then I started getting these flashbacks and triggers. I refused to go to sleep. So my solution was, I'll just do more work. Man, my work was horrible. I'm not even gonna lie. The output wasn't me. I would look back at it like a week or a week and a half later and be like, did he do this? Because I have no recollection of ever doing this. And then I'll look at the file history and be like, I did that? It was that bad. I got written up. It was that bad. So, so I was having, I was really in the middle of a nervous breakdown and I was trying to keep myself together and act like everything was okay. Hence the suicide, because I couldn't find a way out. So I was diagnosed. I was on short-term disability for 4 months. And then when it was time for me to come back to work, they were like, well, you're still on final warning. And I was like, make that make sense. So I said, I'm not coming back. So I say all this to say that now when I have to make a business decision or a big decision and I know it's stressing me out, I don't make a decision. I don't do no work. I go to my couch, I sit down and I relax. I lost a big sum of money in April and I was like, how am I going to pay my bills in May? And then I started thinking I've been in worse situations. God is taking care of me the entire time. It'll come through. And I just got a $8,900 contract yesterday. And he's like,
congratulations.
We're going to have to, thank you. He's like, we're going to have to redo it because I'm going to need you to do more hours. So I'm good. And then I talked to somebody else. She was like, I want you to do my publishing, market my publishing company, market my authors. And I want you to help with this Youth Chicago organization that I run. So I just remind myself that God got me. I don't see it. I don't ever see it coming. You don't see when the valley's coming and you don't see when the hill, when you're on top of the hill, you just have to go through the journey.
Speaking of going through the journey, how do you connect your passion to what you do?
I've had the hardest time I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had two very different profiles. I had a separate link, two LinkedIn accounts. One was for my activism, my speaking and all of that. And the other one was for corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to this DigiCon conference. It's for marketers.
Okay.
And the keynote speaker was like, come up to me after my talk and let me see your IG and see if it's working for you. So my badge said Elona Washington because that was my corporate name.
Okay.
He looked at my Instagram. It says Elona Washington. And he was like, I think that makes sense. And so I told him what was going on. And he was like, merge the two. I was like, but I was a stripper. Like, merge the two. And every time I said something, he was like, merge the profiles. Because you're splitting your audience. And I was like, well, I don't want my activism audience to know about my corporate audience. But I actually found a way. Actually, today it clicked.
Nice.
So I've been saying forever, like, marketing is my ministry. So that's how I merged it. So I designed two websites for these men who go in and physically rescue kidnapped children.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because, the police, they got to wait, all this red tape and paperwork and stuff. So in their state, they registered themselves as private investigators.
Okay.
And that they have the parent hire them for $1, like, give me $1, like you see the lawyers do on TV. And then they do their investigating, and then they go get that child back.
Wow.
And you know what's crazy about this? He said the police actually created a task force for trafficking in their city. And they're like deep south, right? He said the cartel killed them all. Killed everybody on that task force. So when I did the websites, I was like, oh, y'all not going to find these people. Trust and believe.
Right. Whew.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I mean, yeah, first off, trafficking is a whole other subject, but just like the closeness that you have to that and even working with these guys, that's well, God bless them. God bless you for what you all do. Seriously.
Thanks. Yeah. So now I'm reaching out to organizations that are aligned with Me Too and human trafficking and offering my service. There is a company, I can't remember where they're located. I'm actually going to write some blog articles for them, and they do the forensic accounting. So they can go through a company's financial records and see if they're using human trafficking money, if they're benefiting from it.
Wow. Go you! Like, oh my goodness.
Okay. Big confession. Like, I did want to be a spy. Like, I think I would be the best spy.
There it is.
Because I'm serious. Because first of all, nobody pays attention to the black people, right? Black girls. I was so unassuming. When I did sales, they would just look at me and be like, "Oh, honey, come on back here. You coming to check this?" And I'd be like, "No, but I'll go along with it and try and get the sales." Right. So I was like, I think I could be a spy. But then, I watch a lot of like spy movies and heist movies and stuff. Yeah. Like, I really can't. That's not me. But this way I get to like low key, achieve my dreams.
Yes.
So that's answer number 2.
So my little childhood dream was that I wanted to be a ninja, a spy, and an astronaut. All in one.
Girl, you sound like Mae Jemison. Except for the ninja part.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, spy part. Yeah.
But yes.
Well, she wanted to do all things, but she made it happen.
She did. I think deep down, I just wanted to travel. That's what that was.
I couldn't think of the word.
So I added 3 extreme occupations together. I just wanted to travel.
You considered astronaut getting on a rocket.
Just go. I just want to go.
Okay.
it's a little far-fetched. But yeah, those are my dreams.
I hope you achieve them in some way. Like, you can go to that, have you been to that astronauting thing where you're weightless and you get to float?
I have heard of it. I haven't done it yet. I know what you're talking about. I think it was like, what's his name? Unless it's different than the Virgin Mobile guy. Because I thought he did stuff like, there's something different.
Yeah, there's some, I'll be on my phone, I think. So I'll send it to you later.
Yes, please.
So there's that, and then I saw a Facebook ad. I haven't seen it in years though. It's like not a murder mystery, but it's a whole like whodunit, clue type thing. So you
that's
have
right
to,
up my alley.
They have a CSI one too, where you have to look at all the evidence and figure out who did it.
I love that. All right, so do you have any? Well, you've given me resources, but do you have any like resources that you'd like to share, or just leaving our listeners with some last advice?
Resources. I would say if you're suffering from depression or anxiety, and if you don't know if you're suffering from depression or anxiety, if you don't feel like yourself, you have no interest in doing the things you used to do, you don't feel happy a lot of the time, the resource that I suggest is it Black Girls Therapy?
Black Girl Therapy, yes. Therapy for Black Girls.
Therapy for BlackGirls.com, yes. And find a therapist. That's where I found my therapist, and they have been wonderful. Yes. The suicide hotline number, because we talked about it, so we got to give the number. Oh, you could just call 988. And you can actually chat 988.
Yeah.
For the suicide helpline.
I appreciate the fact that they made that shorter, actually.
Yeah, that's helpful. Good. And let's see. Follow me become my friend on Facebook, Elona Washington. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Elona Washington. And I will be putting together a website. I just bought the domain today. Marketing is my ministry, where I'll be focusing on the Me Too and human trafficking space.
Thank you so much, Elona. I'm so glad I got to speak with you today. I appreciate you sharing your stories. I know, like, this is your day to day, but it's an incredible world and a life that you lead. So I'm excited to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. I totally forgot. Being an author, being a publisher, I have a survey. So this is my second round of surveying the reading habits of Black women. So I want to give you the link to that.
Yes, please.
Because I'm trying to get the last survey I did. It was like 650 respondents. So I'm trying to get at least 1,000 this go round.
Good deal. And hopefully we can do a follow-up, because I want to hear how that goes, actually.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we'll be doing an event where we discuss the details, the follow-up details. Yes, I'll make sure to include you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Happy Friday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And it was a pleasure having you.
I loved being here. Can't wait to come back.
Yes. I hope this podcast inspires you to recognize that you are never stuck where you are, and to know that you don't have to go through this process alone. Once you feel that nudge internally, you know that something doesn't align. It can be overwhelming because you don't know where to start. If you're ready to stop waiting for permission to make bold decisions that build confidence, add joy, and create ease into your life, sign up for a free discovery call with me today. Let's get started. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'm Grace Simmons, and this is the Random and Wonderful Podcast. Remember to subscribe so that you are ready for the next episode. Rate the show so that others can find it, and share your favorite episode with a friend. Have a wonderful week. Take care, beautiful people, and I'll talk to you soon.